Hey everybody, it's me. I'm back. Yeah. Now it's time to do the the review for the final and 10th season of Smallville. Yeah. Let's see. To start off, I like the season opener, Lazarus. That had me going. We see Lex again. And everything, and then we test bring brought back to life that she was killed by Zod and Lex in Salvation, the season 9 finale, which was awesome. But I like this opener. I like this season premiere a lot better than I did in Savior. This had me going. Actually had a lot more viewers than it did, or well, about a million more viewers than Savior did. But I liked Lazarus. It really had me going. We see Katniss Katniss Labs again, or we actually see Katniss Labs after it was last mentioned in season 1. And now Lex is using it to generate clones of himself when this is served. And then Clark sees his destiny and tell him what he has to do. And then Lois, and we also see a lot of callbacks. The first of many callbacks from various seasons, starting with the very first episode. This season premiere with a clone of Lex escapes and ties Lois up like this, as a scarecrow, what Whitney did to Clark in the very first episode, and he decides to burn her at the stake. Now Clark is to save her. But yeah, good. Yeah. I like this part, and we also see a Dark Side, but that's really one of the few appearances, which is actually compared to last season. This was some more or less a disappointment. Because I think some people say we were promised this would be the best season, a lot better than season 9, which is I guess hard to trump. But because with Darkseid, we were kind of expecting more. Because all I see is Darkseid. He's just a cloud of smoke. He just he possesses people like Godfrey and Supergirl and everything. And also I'll probably get into Darkseid a little bit later, but we did one. I'll talk about some of the good things, but we did see some disappointments. We did see Jonathan Kent again, in Lazarus, but he doesn't appear till the very end. He's kind of a spirit or ghost or whatever. That's not quite fully explained. It's probably part of Clark's final trials by Jor-El. Probably that's probably the best way to explain it. But yeah, but we kind of expected more. This is and this is sort of continuing on. We were expected more, but we kind of got less than what we were expected. In a sense, I enjoyed it somewhere or less. More so than some people I saw did. But let's see. Hold on. We got a glass of water here. Yeah, I'm sorry, but yeah. But yeah, so, but yeah, basically, for example, Supergirl. We see Darkseid and Godfrey. We see Kara again. I was exposed more. So this is entitled Supergirl. I thought it was focused more on Kara, but it's focused more on Darkseid possessed Gordon Godfrey, the radio jock. We don't necessarily see Darkseid, we just see him in Godfrey, and then we see a cloud of smoke. And it wasn't necessarily really about Kara. I guess she's just her in the spotlight. Now he's called Uber Girl or whatever. But yeah. Then we see go on. Well, one episode that's good was Homecoming. We see Brainiac, James Marsters come back as Brainiac, and yeah. And we see the 200th episode was a knockoff of A Christmas Carol. We see Clark sees past, present, future, which was that was an awesome episode by a lot of people would agree. Lazarus, I like that episode. Those were some good episodes. But later on, Isis, Harvest, and were kind of Although they did have some good moments showing a Lex clone, a little clone that survived since all the clones were killed. Later on by that one clone that escaped, this little baby Alexander. That was good, but he develops later on, but I'll get into that later. Basically, but other episodes, the Darkseid storyline kind of suffered a little bit, in a sense. Abandoned, we see Granny Goodness, and we see that in this, one thing I better go ahead and get to right now is the Luthor storyline. We see the resurgence of the Luthors, particularly with Tess. We find out she actually herself is a Luthor, Lex's half sister, but she didn't know it. But she didn't know it until recently. She discovered her true origins. That's why she was brought on in the first place, and why Lex had her run his company after he disappeared, at the end of season 7. So yeah, but that would make sense, and part of her redemptive storyline, she joins the side of the good guys, as she was sort of a villain and an unlikable character really, but by some, but she's actually more likable in this season, which I felt was good for her character. like she became more likable, and now she's like sort of redemptive storyline. And then we see Lionel again with Earth 2. I like that whole concept of Earth 2. We see Clark Luthor, like a world where like if Clark had been raised by Lionel, his adopted son, we also see Tess, and they kind of have a little thing. And then we've seen Tess meet Lionel. That was amazing. That was a nice little scene. Like, daddy daughter thing. They gotta clash at each other, kind of how Lionel clashed with Lex in previous seasons, and now like father and son. Now we see daddy and daughter like clash with each other, which was like interesting to see the least. So another add to the Luthors, we see Alexander, who Lionel decides to try and corrupt, but we find out he's actually he's not only a clone of Lex, but he's a clone of Clark. Clark and Lex mixed DNA. Lois, so aptly referred to as the genetic love child of Clark Kent and Lex Luthor, which was very like it's just funny to say the least. He becomes Superboy, aka or Connor Kent, aka Superboy in the comics. A demigod of Superman or whatever, but which I liked. Those are some good points. We see the Luthors. Again we finally see Lex. At long last, Michael Rosenbaum finally came back in the finale after he's being resurrected, brought back to life by Darkseid, which was amazing to see. Like, that was one thing I felt was good. And then another thing that was interesting was Chloe and Oliver, like, kind of getting together, and they're kind of married. They kind of ruffled a few feathers because, Oliver's supposed to be with Dinah Lance, aka Black Canary. But yeah, and also, like, there's a few things, and I felt kind of suffered, particularly the Darkseid storyline. He was just kind of pushed to the side. There wasn't like many main villains. We had like say Zod from last season, or I guess Doomsday or Lex for that matter. But he kind of suffered. I mean, even though Darkseid's this big, giant, like threatening menace. I mean, in a sense there was a hint of that, but there was like he was just kind of pushed to the side. But we do hear his backstory, which I think explained it with, say, Orion, mentioned by Kara when she came back in the second to last episode of the series, Prophecy. Orion being Darkseid's son, and then he defeated them and cast them away, weakened Darkseid with the Bow of Orion. I think my guess is, this would be my guess why we saw Darkseid the way he was just a cloud of smoke resembling what his true body and to possess people, was because, like, Orion severely weakened him, and using his bow, and he kind of disembodied him. He trapped him in a dimension, the pocket dimension. Clark released him after he opened the rift for Zod and the Kandarians to enter a new world in last season's finale. Like that, to me, that would make sense. And then Darkseid's trying to regain his strength, bringing Omegas. One of whom is Oliver, which I liked. I liked his idea. Oliver's always been painted kind of a little darker side to him, and Darkseid kind of exploited that when he couldn't get Clark, so he tried to use Oliver against Clark. I mean, that I like that dynamic. Another thing that I think part of that is because the whole Clark and Lois thing, the Clois thing, that some people just say enough of. I mean, because it was just this full-on romance, and they get engaged and get married and all that stuff, which was nice to see. Clark's in his element. He found the woman of his dreams. Clark and Lois are finally together after. That I liked. I think that like largely overshadowed more important things, and like Darkseid, and I guess the VRA Vigilante Registration Act, that kind of branding the heroes terrorists and all that stuff. But in a sense, like this season, like even though I had an awesome awesome finale that I liked, which is great, in a sense, I mean, some people were kind of disappointed with this season compared to a few others they got before, even though it's the final season. I think the reason why it was disappointing for some people, because it was the final season, they were promised more and everything, and all that. But overall, like I enjoyed the parts that it had to offer, particularly with the Luthors, and where Clark finally becoming Superman. Darkseid kind of suffered, and Clark and Lois' relationship kind of overshadowed everything. But I mean, overall, the finale did provide a satisfying close for everything. We did see some characters come back, like Lex, Lionel, Jonathan, Martha, Kara, Zod came back for one episode, and everything. And we even had, Jimmy, Aaron Ashmore came back to play the real Jimmy, in the finale, to flash forward, which was good to see, because, I think it was good for fans. We see the Jimmy Olsen, he kind of looks young anyway, Aaron Ashmore, come on, he is Jimmy Olsen in the show, which they actually find they did him justice, even though it was for a minute or two. He was able to play the real Jimmy in the future, so that was good. Overall, this season, I had compared to others, it was kind of but overall it wasn't bad. Like it had compared to others, you know, like the best part that I had going for it was with the Luther storyline. But yeah, of course I like the Luthers in general, so that's probably the reason why I say that. But overall, like I said, you know, it was somewhat, you know, disappointing compared to others, but you know, it had some satisfying moments. So yeah, and the finale does provide a satisfying close. So yeah, that's at least it did that. So yeah, and there were some good episodes like Lazarus, Homecoming, Luther, Beacon, Scion, and a couple others. So yeah, good stuff. So yeah, like coming up, I may actually do like an entire series retrospective review. I'll like kind of, you know, probably be from a little more critical, kind of take off the rose-colored glasses, you know, kind of think of it from a more critical standpoint. So yeah, but you know, until then, you know, I'll see y'all soon. Bye.